Hi everyone, I'm Abby from marketing and this is Kimmy Dickson from HyperTribe. Hi Kimmy.
Hi everyone, nice to be on this talk.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. So we're going to I'm going to leave you to it for a little bit to talk about everything NFTs. And then we've got loads of questions sent in. I've had some sent in before. We've got some people in the comments who are interacting with us right now. So yeah, I'll leave you to do your thing and then we'll come back and do a Q&A if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's cool. Brilliant. Okay, well, hi everybody, and thank you for joining. I'm really excited about this talk. And I know you should never start a talk with an apology, but that's exactly what I'm about to do. So just apologizing because I don't have my notes. So we had a bit of a technical issue, but we will still steam ahead and I will tell you what I can about NFTs. The reason why, obviously, I think I've been asked to do this talk is because, first of all, I'm the founder of HyperTribe, and HyperTribe is a music development community. I also do a lot of one-to-ones. My background is actually in music and tech. So I've been in the music industry for over 10 years now. My first ever job, just as a nice one, or my first ever work experience actually with Psycho Sony. So that was a big jump into the big wide world, and opened my eyes to how exciting the music industry can be. And then around about 2016, after doing a lot of management and also live events, I've always been really fascinated with technology and how it can accelerate the process of artist development. So that's why we built HyperTribe, and we work with the artists. And one of my biggest passions is obviously to help artists be the best version of themselves. During that journey from 2016 to about 2018, I went through a variety of competitions, national, international, always coming runner-up, never first. But they included, Founders Forum, Facebook as well. We did a national hackathon, trying to develop some of that. I've been with Techstars and raised some stuff in NatWest with Back Her. So won a few awards, and managed to basically dive into the relationship between music and tech, but more importantly, the relationship between music and creators. And that's what HyperTribe is really all about, which is why I think I've been asked very kindly to do this talk. And I hope that even if I can't answer everybody's question, I add just at least one bit of value to everybody's journey. As a creator, I know that it's a personal one, so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. So I wanted to ask this question a little bit more interactively, and it'd be really interesting to know afterwards, who's in the room, who's listening, who's talking. Feel free to hit me up at Kimmy Dickson as well, and let me know that you're listening, because it's really interesting to hear people's journeys. And I know that the floor doesn't just work with musicians, even though in terms of an application, in terms of context of application of NFTs, that's what I'm a bit more versed in, rather than any other kind of creator's journey. So I'd like to know, where are you at, like, in your journey? Are you starting out? Are you really experienced? There might be experts in here better than me as well. So I'd love to hear from you. And also on top of that, what's your role? Are you an art creator? I mean, are you in film? Are you anything that could be really interesting to have a chat about? So so then hopefully we can get some context around who's listening. Cool. So how this will run, this talk, and fingers crossed it all goes to plan, because I don't have my notes. It's going to be great. How it will run, the first thing is going to do an introduction to NFT. So there's for people who are starting out, I really wanted to kind of pitch this at people who really just have no idea what an NFT is, and then also the concept and how it works, the application of NFT, how you can get involved with NFTs, and also the future of NFTs. And NFTs aren't particularly new as such, but the hype is. So there's a lot of different technologies rising very quickly. So keeping your finger on the pulse is sometimes a bit difficult. So I'm going to do my best to explain to you my current knowledge of NFTs. Cool. So an introduction. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and essentially what they are is an authentication of a piece of digital art. So they dictate the ownership of a piece of art. So for example, I wanted to give a really logical explanation of what an NFT would be. It's you know, and I like to use the example of like memorabilia. Memorabilia is a great example of you have to have a piece of content, or an asset, and that can be, you know, it could be a signed football or something like that. My mom did a Jonah Lomu's tour just before he passed, the rugby star, and we did a lot of signatures, and we had to authenticate that he had actually signed that. So then that issue of certificate saying that, you know, this is real, and also that he had obviously produced the signature was there. So it's being able to put a digital signature on a piece of digital art. So certifying that. And the way in which that works is that once you can certify that that piece of memorabilia is owned or has been produced by a particular person, when it's sold to the next person or the next person or the next person, it means that you can trace that transaction back. And we do this through a digital chain called blockchain. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of blockchain right now. I'm just going to give you an overview, because if we do that, we're going to be here all day. So the overview of blockchain is that it's a digital ledger. And that's where you get things like Bitcoin. It's a particular technology that has a verified transaction that is decentralized. It's a decentralized network. So the reason why Bitcoin was obviously created was actually to decentralize currency. Ethereum isn't. Ethereum is, if you think about it, it's not the specific currency. So Bitcoin was created to obviously to help with. Bitcoin was created to help with currency, and Ethereum is actually the pipework in between all of that. So to help facilitate some of the transactions. And the reason why Ethereum is important is because with NFTs, they are pegged to Ethereum. What that means is that Ethereum as a network means that you can actually build on top of it. So it unlike Bitcoin, which is final and it's a currency, it's a finished product. Ethereum is actually a network where you can actually put different structures on top of that, and that's where digital tokens, digital assets such as art and any asset by any creator can basically be built into this network, and that transaction of buyers and ownership is actually distributed across the network. So there's a way in which we can trace back these transactions. And that's the reason why Ethereum has obviously been so intertwined with NFTs, is because it runs on the network, and that's why it's important. So if you hear those two things hand in hand, then that's the reason why. Let me know if people are getting a bit lost. I know it's a bit of a hard concept. I'm not going to go into how Ethereum was created and all these other things, because we don't have a lot of time for that. So how it works is, obviously at the moment you're probably seeing a lot of headlines that are saying things like this artist made like 6 million, or this artist made like 600,000 or whatever, from a piece of digital art that was sold. The reason why this is so important is because there is a different, that it suddenly gives anything in the digital world a platform to be owned. So for example, there was a tweet that was produced as an NFT. So that tweet can now be owned by a particular person. And then as it's sold through the network, and it gets more and more expensive, and then you can verify that ownership all the way back to the original creator. And that's why NFTs have become so important. In terms of its application, what we're looking at the moment let's just take the music world. Actually, no, let's take the art world. I think that's probably more logical right now. So if in terms of application, what we're looking at is that people are being able to produce, say, a doodle or like a really good piece of art, which can also be, in a video format. And they are able to actually monetize that a lot quicker. And also, anything that is associated with those things. So, for example, Kings of Leon launched their new album, and also they put in specific tickets for their fans, and so they will verify that ownership of that ticket to that particular fan, and that fan can obviously go, I think it was something along the lines of that they could go to all the concerts during the year. It makes sure that that person that is associated with the ownership of that NFT, there is no fraudulent activity, which is really, really important, because there's a lot of issues right now in the ticketing system in the music world, where people are, either buying up a lot of tickets and being able to sell them through big corporations. And this way we can start applying NFTs to a transactionable ownership that can actually be traced, which is really, really important. And that's how in the art world it's being applied. So, for example, you can now, as an artist, what we're looking at with a lot of the musicians that we're involved with is that they can monetize their whole portfolio. So when we do artist development, we go through different stages of, like, yes, of course, you've got the records that you can actually apply, royalties to, and you can actually, there's obviously a sense of ownership. So every time that the song is played, you get royalty check and all those kind of things. Now, when it comes to things like music videos, or perhaps they've produced an album cover, that's really important too, because now we can monetize that using NFTs. You can assign ownership of your album cover, for example, if you wanted to put that out, or you can do doodles or one-off pieces of merchandise, which is really exciting for your fanatic fans, right? And they can own that piece, and they can actually, once it's got value, they can sell that on if they want to, but they can actually authenticate that it's come from you as an artist. And that's where the application for me personally, sitting in the music world, I'm like, that's really cool, because it means that we're looking at a portfolio and a massive influx of income for artists. And one of the biggest things that I preach and that I teach the artists that I work with, like one-on-one or just generally in the community, is to be an artist entrepreneur and also get to a sustainable income. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, because it's a lot to do with the future of NFTs and how that can be applied. But I hope that application makes sense. I can sometimes I get in my own head, and I think they're making sense. So if anyone's a bit lost on that, feel free to put in the chat and just say, Kimmy, what the hell are you talking about? So how do you get involved in NFTs? So first of all, okay, I put this 5-step process together, but it comes with a word of warning at the bottom here, which says there are some easy platforms out there that can actually help you understand the process, and also may vary in terms of their processing. But this is a basic understanding of, like, the step-by-step things that either the platform might do or you can personally do yourself. Also do your research, really big on checking all your contracts, do your research on fees as a creator. First of all, collate all your media that you want to do. So, for example, maybe it might be an album cover, maybe it might be same thing as memorabilia. It might be like specific things that are not maybe in physical form, but you could obviously you can assign. So it could even be like, a tweet that you have done as well. And then what you want to do is you want to enable your Ethereum wallet. So Ethereum is the currency that is obviously used because the NFTs are attached to the Ethereum network. So it's the currency that's used obviously to do the trading with NFTs, and that's really important. And also what you want to do, the Ethereum wallet. If you don't know what that is, it's a little bit complex, but it's just worth a Google. Just you got to take a look at cryptocurrency and also the things that are going on there. Cover your costs is the third one. So what you need to do as well is to put these things onto different platforms. You might also there might be small fees, or there might be setup things that you want to take a look at. So you want to just make sure that you can cover your costs. So you're going to need some Ethereum anyway to be able to do that. Then connect to a marketplace. So there are loads of different marketplaces, and I've got a really nice little cheat sheet for you where you can find it on the HyperTribe network. And also the last thing that you need to do is put in your metadata and information. So this is the same way in which with artists and songwriting, it comes down to royalties. You need to be able to trace back all of those things. So putting in the right information, the platform should help you with that. Any platform that is helping creators should have a really nice sign-up process. And especially the more established ones, they'll be able to help you with that too. Again, there are some easy platforms out there. And the processes may vary. So this is just a general thing because we're not talking in depth. If you do need more help, I'm more than happy to help anybody. We do a lot with our artists as well. So that brings me to the future of NFTs. And I do not have a crystal ball. I cannot look into the future and tell you exactly what's going to be going on, and nor can anybody else. So if anyone's guaranteeing you any of this, they are lying to you, in short. So future of NFTs. The one thing that I can say is that I'm quite highly involved in cryptocurrency. I follow it a lot. It's one of the biggest things that tech is one of kind of like my core values, as well as music, artist development, and also kind of international law, international trade. They're kind of three things in terms of projects that I really like to take a look at or involve myself in. So I come from a perspective of like international trade and understanding what's kind of going on in a global market and where NFTs may or may not fit. So my opinion might be different to somebody who perhaps is in the music industry. All I know right now, in terms of other people that are in the music industry taking a look at this, is that I was having a good conversation with someone from Cobalt the other day, which has one of the best technologies in the music industry for collection and administration of songwriting royalties, and so much more. They had said to me that, they were sitting for 48 hours just going, how on earth do we make money from this? And that's the conversations that are being had at quite a high level. So future of NFTs, I do feel like NFTs are around to stay. But this again comes with a word of warning. There is something that happened with Bitcoin and the hype of Bitcoin, and it happens with every single technology, that there is hype. There is so much hype around the world. It will spike, and then suddenly, there's a lot of conversation right now about NFT bubbles, meaning that these NFTs are crazy. How do we assign value? And the value is literally what someone will pay for it. It's the same thing with the housing market. It's the same with anything else. What will someone pay for it? And if people are willing to pay, obviously there's a market. If that market then bursts, then we might see, a massive drop. I don't think NFTs are going to go away. I think it's going to happen the same thing that it happened with Bitcoin. There's going to be a massive hype. There's going to be a bubble. It might burst. It might drop. Like in 2017, I know that it dropped quite a bit. And then it came back and it slowly started rebuilding. So just be aware that there's a lot of hype right now. And things might come crashing down, but they're not going to decimate. They're not going to go away forever. Personally, that's what I think. And one of the biggest things about NFTs is that obviously it's working cryptocurrency and digital currency as well. Digital currency, not many people are aware of this because they don't really know where to look on the internet. But there are a lot of governments around the world right now that are looking at digital currency, which is why I'm really interested in it. And we're talking about, China's definitely 4 years ahead of the US. It helps with transaction fees. It's a quicker, it's a quicker it just makes more sense when it comes to the movement of money. It's a lot more fluid, and also like physical money, and also the current centralized banking system is very, very slow. And it comes at, you know, it's costly as well. So there are a lot of governments around the world right now taking a look at digital currency and how they can implement that on a mass scale. And so that's why I think with NFTs, like that probably just goes hand in hand with everything that's going on in context of digital currency and things that are happening. NFTs as well with, you know, what's going to happen in the music industry. I personally think the reason why everyone's getting so hyped about it is because we have had a massive, almost like a starvation of the music industry since, you know, MP3s and all this other stuff and streaming services and so on. It's another way to produce revenue. It's another way to monetize as an artist. And that brings me to my most important point, that regardless of NFTs and perhaps consumer culture that might change, as an artist, whether you're a music artist, whether you're a creator, you have to get your business in order. Like one of the biggest things in HyperTribe is that we have messed around with a lot of tech. 100%. I've been investigating some of the biggest challenges within the music industry, and we have some phenomenal research from 2016 onwards. And also we've been able to develop some really nice technology and had some conversations with some really cool people. But it all comes back to, you can scale tech. You can be involved in tech like that tomorrow if your community, if your business, if your house is in order. And that is one of the most important things to do, is get your house in order as an artist. And this is one of the biggest quotes that I love, which is, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. And that is something that I preach every single day. Every single artist that I work with one-to-one, and I know there are a few of you watching, you know that I am big on like, get your house in order. Like you've got to be the CEO of your own business so that you can interact and you can engage in things like NFTs and those kind of conversations at a high level. You need to know things. Don't be starting out your music career or starting out, you know, your art career and suddenly going, okay, right, I'm just going to jump straight to NFTs. Yes, play around with it 100%. But be smart, take in the knowledge and really kind of research and get to grips with different types of platforms, and take your time to do that artist development. It's so important, because once you get to that point where you know all of this stuff, you've produced a really nice foundation for you to accelerate. So before you get involved with NFTs, just as a word of warning, just get your house in order and make sure that you, as an artist, as a creator, that you have you've understood how everything works. And if you can't, let me know, and come and become a HyperTriber, and we'll sort you out. So I hope that's valuable a little bit. I understand that this is a really short introduction to NFTs, and I understand that there is a lot of depth, and there are probably people out there who are like, oh, I've heard this and I've done that and whatever, and all those kind of exciting things, and I really want to have a conversation about that. And even if you don't understand things, like, I want to make sure that you understand things, because again, like, one of my biggest passions is to make sure that you as an artist are enabled with the best technology or the best opportunities that you can do. So the way in which we've done that is that over at hypertribe.com, you can obviously sign up as a subscriber and come onto our community, or you can do one-to-ones with me on the higher membership tier. But we've got one of the MDs of Techstars who's on our network, so you can actually message him and have conversations. I've already briefed him saying that we've got people that are really interested in NFTs. Techstars is one of the biggest technology accelerators in the world, and he runs some of the stuff over in the UK, but he also is heavily involved in watching the rise of different platforms, and we'll be able to tell you so much more. So if you've got any technology questions as a creator, get involved in our network, and literally you just send him a message and you can talk to him like all day if you want, which is freaking awesome. And then the next thing that we've also got a cheat sheet which we literally uploaded today, about the top 23 platforms for NFTs. So we've like basically built like a whole massive cheat sheet of like, these are all the platforms. There's 23 of them. You can go in, you can click it, you can download it, you can have it forever. And also you can collaborate with different artists when it comes to NFTs as well. And the last thing is, if you are really lost, I just want to make sure that everybody's out there, and that everybody that's out there knows that I'm always happy to do the one-to-ones with you on our HyperTribe tier, and we will talk through your personal journey. Perhaps we can point out some resources and also make sure that you're doing things correct. We have a really cool artist at the moment, and I know she's watching. So she's been setting up her NFTs, and she's going to do wicked. So yeah, it's an exciting time, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows you're not alone in understanding NFTs right now. It is a complex subject, and I think that once we all kind of as a collective, as an industry, get to grips with everything that it is and that it's not, things will just accelerate, and it's a really exciting time. But for sure, they're around to stay. Just be careful and bide your time. Don't get into anything that might be a bit of a house of sand. So yeah, that's us.
Hi, Kimmy, I'm back.
Cool. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen if that's all right.
Yeah, I all switched off. First of all, thank you so much for that, because personally, I am someone who just was so confused about NFTs before, and you really, really set my mind straight.
Cool. I'm glad it was helpful. You do sometimes worry. You're like, oh, this is kind of something that I kind of know. So is it useful? So yeah, I'd be interested to know if it was actually useful for everybody else as well.
Yeah. Before we log off, we've actually got some comments that have come through and some questions.
Cool.
The first one is, you may have already answered this, but maybe for people who have just joined us, like, what is the first step to getting started? Like, is there a particular site you go to? Is there a particular one thing that you do?
If I was, let me talk about it. If I was an artist, an artist, I would first of all get your house in order. Like you have to know like where your assets are. So one of the biggest we have a structured kind of artist development process, and one of those is actually creating your assets. So again, start with your media. Like, what are you going to really sell? What are you really going to take a look at? So start collating a lot of that. And then the other thing is that you want to really take a look and see if which platform is right for you. It's kind of a little bit like, distribution. Like, there's different distribution channels out there that you can publish your music on. Or, sorry, I'm talking a lot about, music. I know there's a lot of creators on here, so I do apologize for that. But if you are looking at different distribution channels, you're looking at the different types of fees. You're looking at how easy it is. Maybe there's a particular affiliation. Do your research. So if I was starting out, I would first of all do my research like hell. Like, get someone to support me if you can. And then also on top of that, make sure that you know exactly what you're selling. So that's the first step. And things should follow from that. Things like you will understand exactly where to place everything and get started with that.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, if I was a new artist or a new creator and I was just, starting on my path, would you say that NFTs is a priority, or would you say that it's just, like you said, one of the things you need to research and see if it's right for you?
I think NFTs are, I feel like NFTs are right for everybody, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of like, it's another string to your bow is what I'm trying to say. Just do it properly. I don't want people like just, excuse my French, but like pissing about, or whatever. You don't, it's not the time for that, because it's a volatile market and it's going to be for a little bit. It really is. And I think people have to be aware that it is going to be a volatile market, and we've got to have conversations about that. And you've got to have conversations same way in which people have conversations about cryptocurrency. Where's the future of cryptocurrency? Where does that all go? What blockchain also as a technology is so applicable to different areas, but you've got to be able to understand it before being involved. Don't just jump into it and be like, okay, I want to. Sorry, this comes from the thought that I feel like a lot of people are seeing a lot of headlines, and if anyone wants to let me know whether this is true, that it's like, okay, this person made like this much money, and so everyone goes, oh, I can make that kind of money, and it's like, fine, that's great, but if you really want to make that kind of money, let's do it properly, you know? And that's the same thing even when you're launching as an artist or whatever. It's like, get your house in order so that you can do it, and you can do it well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. We had a question come in from Erica saying, "Hi Kimmy, I've seen a lot of conversations around the environmental impacts of NFTs. Like, what do you think about that?"
I'm not gonna lie, this is not my forte. Yeah, this environmental impact of NFTs is not my forte. It's not where I have researched a lot. But and this is just my personal opinion, okay? So before anyone starts like going crazy at me and stuff like that, I come from a background where I absolutely sounds so boring. I'm so boring, but like my master's in international law, and I absolutely love looking at government policy and understanding the impact of law on policy. And I personally think that the reason why there's a conversation around environmental impacts and NFTs is the amount of technology and the amount of like fossil fuels it takes to obviously like do all of that, right? Personally, I think that there is a responsibility of corporations and also these platforms that are coming up. There is a corporate social responsibility to be able to start taking a look at those environmental impacts. I feel like there's a top-down approach that needs to be applied, and I think that it's a very real debate for sure. Like I would completely agree with that. Like it's a really real debate, and it's still the number one cause of obviously climate change, fossil fuel consumption. So it needs to be looked at. It does need to be looked at. But I think there's something around, you know, a lot of this stuff is really unregulated. So we need to take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in regards to all environmental kind of issues that we talk about, like you just said, it always has to come from these big corporations and the top down. So I feel like obviously we can do our bit ourselves, but you know, it is the big guys that need to, you know, take action on it as well.
Yeah, you can be socially conscious. I do think that there's obviously a place for people being socially conscious. That's important too.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some comments also and questions from YouTube. Awesome to hear all of what you've been saying, Kimmy, really digestible. Been wondering if there's a best currency like Ethereum. Am I saying that right? Ethereum?
Like Ethereum?
Yes.
Ethereum. Yeah, like Ethereum is the currency. Mm-hmm. So it's actually called the Ether. Like it's the network is called the Ether and the currency is Ethereum. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm not second guessing myself. It's been a really long day. The currency is Ethereum. If you're talking about investing in cryptocurrency, that is a completely different conversation, and I am more than happy to have that conversation. And there's a lot. I mean, we will be here for days, but that's like separate. Well, I mean, yeah, I would say Ethereum is the one thing that you need to take a look at. Ethereum does have the Ether network is also that I think what they're trying to say is there's a different type of coin that is also pegged to the Ether network as well. So you can actually have there's different types of coins that are pegged to around Ethereum and all these kind of things. So you can buy up these different coins that are also doing different things, but they each different coin has a different use, a different way in which it is being applied. So you need to do your research again into all of that. But that's like I feel like for me that's a different conversation.
No, yeah, we've just got our head around this. Let's not confuse ourselves. We'll lose me
day by day, you know, bit by bit.
Yeah, totally. Another comment from our YouTube audience. Do you think NFTs can replace streaming services like Spotify and Apple?
I think that's, in my mind, it's so slightly separate. I do think that there is, I don't understand how that would relate. But what I think I understand what they're trying to get at, which is a little to do with like royalties. I don't know, maybe that's the conversation there. But yeah, I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and like PRS, I love PRS. For anyone who's not in the UK, is our collection society for royalties. Sorry, the number one collection society for royalties, royalty payouts for musicians. And PRS is notoriously slow. and it also is complex and doesn't need to be some of the time, and I think there is an application of blockchain technology that should be applied, and I think it has been. I've been seeing a couple of other places that can do that, but there's definitely a way in which there should be more of this technology kind of applied there. So I think there is a conversation to be had there, but I don't think there's such thing as like replacing Spotify and everything. I think these companies already have a good standing and stake in the market, and they also have a use. It's another string to your bow. It's like, you don't just go with one social platform to promote everything. You go with YouTube, so Instagram and all these other places. So
yeah, that makes sense. And that to me is like how you've made a lot of this make sense to me, and the research and the targeting part, like that made me think about NFTs in a very different way, like you said, beyond the headlines and just like being confused.
yeah Understand it first, that's what I'm trying to get at, is like, don't just jump into it because it's cool and it's like trendy. There's a lot of stuff like that I see every single day, and that we get offered partnerships with some really cool tech companies because we have a really good community. We have a really active and innovative tech community, and like I think, and instead of us going, yeah, of course we'll do that. Like, I work with someone who's built multi-million-pound tech companies 3 times over, and he's freaking awesome. Like he's literally like the biggest mentor, but also like works alongside me. And like, yeah, he's wicked, but he's the one who keeps me on track, because I have a problem of like shiny, like it's called like magpie syndrome, where I'm like, oh, that looks really cool, let's go and do that, and he's like, no, stop it, like this is the mission. And it's the same thing with artists. Like, what is your genuine mission? It all starts with your values and what you see as your success, because that will be different for everybody.
Yeah, your narrative, I guess. Yeah. We have another question, probably the last one, because we've got a few repeat ones which we seem to have covered, and you covered so well in your presentation as well. So overall, how does NFTs ensure creators have ownership over their work?
So as you put, it's the same way in which it's a similar way in which you'd register your royalties as an artist in terms of a piece of music. You need to register the piece of art onto the Ethereum network. So you need to be able to verify that, obviously, that you've done that. But once you've done that, you do it once, and as it gets passed from like, person to person, buying or selling or whatever, there is a digital digital trail of that ownership. So to ensure that you've got ownership, like a lot of these platforms literally do that. They help you with being able to provide that, like to register that ownership, essentially. And this is what we're seeing in tech world as well. Like, it's really interesting. Like, when lockdown happened, it was all about streaming like live stuff and everything. There was like 100 different companies every day. Now, because the hype is all about NFTs, we're seeing similar situations. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to give us this really like digestible package. And yeah, I think it'll be really, really helpful for all the viewers right now, and then also for the people who are catching up on demand. Yeah, I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
No worries. I'm glad we got through it without any notes.
I'm
really shocked.
No, honestly,
but thanks everyone as well, and yeah, hit me up. I want to know that everyone who's been listening and stuff like that, I love to hear everyone's journey. Like, I really do. It's one of my favorite things to do, is just talk to artists and understand where you're coming from. So join the network and let's have a chat.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Big up HyperTribe, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Catch you all at our next event.
Thank you. Thanks.